Mitch, it looks like another name is added to our list here of guys that they are going to be interested in. Chris Botta reporting that many people around the Islanders are planning to meet soon and are considering to be part of the new leadership team is Marc Bergevin.
Yeah, that name has been thrown out, right? Like we went over the list. I think it was here as well as on YouTube from Frank Seravalli and Marc Bergevin. His name came up there as well. He is assistant general manager with the Los Angeles Kings. I don't know how I feel about this. Now, what Chris is saying is that it's a new part of their new leadership team. Now, that doesn't specify whether it's general manager, and not because he's holding that back. He just doesn't know whether it's general manager or president of hockey operation remains to be seen. But I would imagine someone who's been GM is currently an assistant GM is looking to step back into the GM role and not necessarily to the role above that. Although I assume that's a sizable pay bump, right?
Yeah, I would think so. If he's going to make the jump over, I think it would have to be in some sort of pay bump. But if he's coming over from the Kings, right? Because we know he obviously was the general manager in Montreal. Maybe we could talk about some of the things that went well and didn't go so great in Montreal in a second here. But if he's going to make the jump from where he is essentially now as some sort of advisor in LA, I would think it would be for a pretty prominent role in the organization.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And talking about guys with the guns out, like Marc Bergevin, a massive guns show on display all the time. Like the guy is jacked. I don't know about it anymore because the last time I saw him was as GM of the Montreal Canadiens, and that was a couple of years back. But I would assume he's still jacked to the tits. Like the amount of bicep that guy has, it is insane. Insane how big he is. But that doesn't change anything, right? Like whether you have big biceps or not doesn't change how good of a general manager you can be. It remains to be seen, but as you mentioned, his track record with Montreal, I don't know. It kind of makes me gun shy, kind of.
There's some good and some not so good with it, right? Like it was very up and down. Now we could go with the positive. Made it to a conference final in 2014. Made it to the Stanley Cup final in 2021. That was a surprise, right? They had a 527 win percentage in 2021. So it wasn't like they were, dominant and expecting to go far. And then after making that Stanley Cup final run, he's dumped early the next season, and they finished with a 335 points percentage, 55 points in a full 82 game season in 21-22. For me, like if you want to look at just a positive thing that he did, I think one of his better moves was acquiring Jeff Petrie from Edmonton for just a second and a fourth, and then locked him up on a nice long-term contract extension. On the not so great side, if you want to talk about Alex Galchenyuk, that him being drafted third overall, that one clearly didn't work out. And there was also some wild ones in there too.
Yeah, like the last trade he made here, when I'm looking on NHL Trade Tracker, I don't know if that's exactly accurate in terms of his last one, but the last trade that they've got for him is Montreal acquires Christian Dvorak for a conditional first, and the condition of that was whether they give up their own pick in the 2022 NHL draft or Carolina's, so long as whichever one was going to be worse. And obviously it was the Carolina pick was because Montreal drafted first overall that year, and a second round pick in 2024. For Christian Dvorak, who was nothing special, fine NHL player, third liner maybe, but like 30-point player.
Yeah, that
first and a second.
That's a lot. And the big one, the PK Subban, Shea Weber trade was another big one that he did. Again, some better than others, different level of success. I would classify myself as lukewarm on the idea. I think you could do a lot worse, but I'm not going to be like doing backflips and be like, oh, the Islanders are fixed now. They got Marc Bergevin in here.
Well, that's just it. Like in terms of his he's a lot more aggressive than Lou was or is. So that's a plus in a way, but sometimes like aggressive to a fault. Again, acquiring Christian Dvorak for reasons. But then he's able to move guys like Andrew Shaw in his seventh for a second, a seventh, and a third. Like there are certain moves there, or Marco Scandella. Here's another one. He picks up Marco Scandella for a fourth and then moves him like a month later, not even, for a second and a fourth. That's great asset management. So there is that side of it where you're going, okay, well that's pretty good. We could use that. But it's when it gets kind of, you goes too full aggressive, and then you're losing first for guys like Christian Dvorak.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a strange one. But I've mentioned this, I think, in the last episode. Usually when you fire someone, it's about kind of going in a polar opposite direction a lot of times. And I do think he's an opposite in the sense that Bergevin's very bold. You can't really say that Lou Lamoriello was bold with the Islanders. I think Bergevin would go a little armchair GM on us here.
Yeah, and I'm just looking over his drafting record, and it's not really that bad. Now, of course, he had Montreal levels of staff, right? Like Montreal's got money to print when it comes to hockey ops, whereas the Islanders don't necessarily. That might change a little bit. Islanders are certainly going to spend some money on developing their hockey ops staff, but like you're looking at the draft here, and just some of the picks he's taking. Like, sure, you got Galchenyuk in that year in 2012. Did not go well for them.
No.
But very few people came out of the 2012 draft well. 2013, McCarron, Arturi Lehkonen in the second round. Not too bad of a pickup there. Jake Evans in the 7th round. The year after that, Sergachev, 9th overall. Ryan Poehling, not a bad player. Kotkaniemi is an okay player, just maybe not where he's in the slot that he was drafted. Romanov that same year.
Yep.
Obviously good player. And so like a good GM, a good track record in that regard. And obviously I'm forgetting Cole Caulfield there. That's
a big one.
This is a big one. Big one to skip over. But then he kind of goes off and he's got Logan Mailloux in 2021. That's the one where you're like, that was a stupid friggin' draft by him. He should not have done that.
No, and it was the second to last pick in the first round and his last draft too. So not ending on a high note necessarily.
No, exactly. So like there's some good earlier in his career as general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, but later on it kind of falls off, and you're going, well, which one am I getting here? Assuming, of course, that he's even just interviewing, let alone actually getting the job. Are we getting pre or early Marc Bergevin or late? Because the late one kind of scares me.
Yeah, late isn't good, but hoping that maybe learned from some of those mistakes the first go around, right? It has now kind of been with the Kings, and they've had success since he's been there. And, he might be a retread option that makes sense because, one, it's not like his success we're talking about like 2005, like some of these other guys we're talking about, relatively recently, and has been in another organization in a different kind of role in that organization, seen success too.
If you like that, make sure to subscribe to Up the Turnpike on Patreon for more exclusive New York Islanders content.